great basketball.
Defender to the basket, Jason Tatum.
We'll be covering pre and post game back on this channel.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back into another episode of the Celtics Talk Weekly Podcast. I am your host, Rob Haytayan. Joined with me is my co-host, Justin Lowe, and Jack Bienvenue. Guys, we got a lot to talk about. The playoffs obviously started. This is the first podcast that we're putting out for the playoffs. Let's go over the Hawks series. Although it doesn't matter too much now that we're kind of into this Philly series, still some things and important takeaways I think that came out of that series. Celtics took care of business 4-2, on the road in 6 games. They had a closeout game opportunity in Game 5 in Boston. They led by 10 points with right around 3 minutes to go. Atlanta goes on, I believe, what it was like a 13-2 run to close the game out, and essentially the Celtics had to go on the road. They eventually got things done. A lot to dive into. However, before I get started, I'd like to get the house cleaning things out of the way. If you're not following us on all of our social medias, go do that right now. Our Instagram has been popping off recently, so I want to thank you guys for that. We're approaching 6,000 followers there, so that's always great. We're very appreciative of that. And then also, if you're listening to, we got a lot of Spotify and Apple podcast listeners. If you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, if you enjoy the podcast, you'll really enjoy the post-game shows. We go live after every game. They're on our YouTube channel. And if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you guys for the continuous support. We appreciate it. Does not go unnoticed. Let's hop into it, though, Justin. C's, Hawks. First point I want to talk about, and I want to hear your opinions on, is that Game 5 closeout game that we weren't able to close out. I want to hear what you think about that.
Yeah, it was frustrating because we look back to almost a year ago to that Game 5 against the Milwaukee Bucks, where it was a very, very similar situation. Maybe not brink of elimination, but at the same time, it was very, very important for the Celtics to win that game to go up 3-2. 10 minutes left. Celtics were up by like 14. I was at that game, Jack. I think were you at that game?
Yeah. Me and Ian went to that game.
Yeah, and like Celtics were up 14 with like 10 minutes left. The vibes are good. Like Smart and Tatum, and then Horford with that huge putback dunk. Like the vibes are immaculate. And then all of a sudden, excuse my language, but shit hit the fan. And ultimately, instead of Bobby Portis taking over, it was Trae Young, and he took over in that Game 5. And that was frustrating, Jack, because we look at this new team and we always talk about building good habits and how far better and far more advanced we think this team is compared to last year at this time of year. So it was frustrating to see the Celtics not close it out at home, Jack.
Yeah. I really agree with that. I mean, I think the fact we saw the Celtics last year, and the big thing was just like they couldn't win these winnable games. The games they should have won. Game 4 in Boston in the finals. Game, like you said, Justin, 5 against Milwaukee. Game 6 against Miami.
Yeah.
So it's like, and when we get into the playoffs this year, we're hoping, okay, this is a new, seasoned, experienced team. They've been there. They've been as far as you can go. So
right.
they have the experience you need. And I think going in, I really hoped that would be one of the big differences in this run that we're going to have, is just winning those winnable games, winning those closeout games. Because I feel like that's just so important to the confidence. I mean, the guys might not say it, but I mean, that had to take the toll on something. I mean, I'm sure they didn't think it was over. I mean, I'm sure they still knew we were going to win, but it's just, that has to affect something as a competitor,
Yeah, it's demoralizing because that situation,
especially on your home court.
Exactly, especially in your home court. And you know what else is demoralizing? The fact that even the Celtics, like it became a whole meme about the whole Janet Jackson concert and stuff like that. Like it became a whole meme over the last couple of years.
And
but like
Tatum was talking about it too.
Like even then, like even Atlanta, the schedule makers of the arena didn't think there'd be a game 6. So like, I think the Celtics took that kind of personal in terms of like, okay, like not even their own city believed in them, and like we let them come into our home building and steal a game. I just think that really. I didn't think that sat well with the Celtics at all. So, it was good to see them close out the series, which I'm sure we'll touch on that game 6 to close it. But at the same time, it was frustrating to see old habits come back to the Celtics during that series. Certainly a series that could have been very much over in 4 or 5, but instead, Celtic fashion gave us a little heart attack and went 6.
Yeah, I feel like this team, I've seen 2 different types of trends through the first 7 games of the playoffs. The first trend is that the Celtics will keep it close through 3.5 quarters. They're talented enough where they can do that. They stay in the game through the first 3.5 quarters, and then the end of that fourth quarter rolls around, and they get stagnant on either they're stagnant on offense, or it's really stagnant on offense has been the problem down the stretch. And then on the other side of things is that they're winning through 3.5 quarters, and they let their foot off the gas pedal. And I do think that Philadelphia, they played with their food, right? But in terms of the Atlanta Hawks, they kind of thought the game was over. They thought Atlanta would bend the needle and essentially just say, we're down by 10 with 3 minutes in a game 5 on the road. We're not going to beat these guys, and if we do beat these guys, they're going to go play Philadelphia. So why should we, try to win this game? But that's not how the playoffs work. So I think in regards to game 5, that's what you saw from Boston. And then in regards to game 6, you kind of saw the same thing through with Boston. It was close. They were losing entering the fourth quarter by 2 points. And then they all of a sudden were kind of like, oh, it's the fourth quarter. Let's show up defensively. And they got their stops, only holding Atlanta to 20 points. That's a trend. We saw that against Philadelphia. This game 1, we kind of saw them. They're like all of a sudden like, oh shit, we actually have to play defense. And it's like, if you're the Boston Celtics, you can't be doing that in the playoffs, because you play with your food. You're going to find out. Play around, you find out, right? It always meets at some point. Like, I don't know if you follow Ian Angelo on Twitter, but he posted it's a graph, and if you play, you find out. It's at some point you're going to find out. And something I want to listen to, I'm going to play it here, is the Joe Mazzulla press conference after game 1 of Philadelphia, because I do want to hop into the Philadelphia series for a majority of this podcast. I'm going to play that. You can either hear it, you'll be able to listen to it, and then we're going to give our opinions, because I think Joe Mazzulla is a big topic of conversation for us in this podcast.
He was hitting his 3, and did you not think of doubling him, or what happened on that last play when Harden hit the 3?
Al's one of our best defenders, has been all year. He made a big shot.
And what was the final play supposed to be on offensive for Jason?
It was just a read. It was dependent upon the matchup. They switched their matchup, and so it was just a read, and Smart tried to make a play at the end.
And just it seemed like the offense was disjointed in the last few minutes. The execution wasn't there. Turnovers. Brogdon throws the ball to Maxey. What happened in the last 5 minutes?
I think their zone gave us some stagnant, just figuring out where they were man, where they were zone. And then our spacing was off kilter a little bit, and I thought we passed up some open shots.
And how disappointing is it to lose without the potential MVP, and now they strike first in the series and win on the road?
It's disappointing to lose in general, but we have opportunities to bounce back.
Joe, they kind of did everything pretty much you said that they would be able to do, playing smaller, more aggressive, quicker. What is it about just, I guess, the level at this point in the playoffs that you can expect what's coming and still not be able to beat it?
I thought they executed pretty well. We were up 4 with, I forgot how much time was left in. So anytime it comes down to just the last few possessions of execution. So I thought we did a good job throughout the game executing our game plan.
And then when they were blitzing at the end, do you feel like you guys had the idea of how to space to be able to get out of it easily and make sure?
Yes.
Sure, you guys were shooting like 90-something% in the last minute of the first quarter even. What did you feel like? Obviously that's not sustainable, but what did you feel like you were seeing then that maybe got away in terms of getting layups and that attacking mentality?
Just our pace, and then we were getting spaced really quickly and kind of just reading the cross matches and driving the ball and just making the right play.
And Jalen was a big part of that first quarter. I think he only had 2 shots over the final 3 quarters. Is that just something they were doing to take him out, or things you guys need to do to free him up?
I got to be better than that.
What can you do in that situation?
Just certain play callings, get our spacing right. That's an area I'll definitely get better at.
Joe, one of the things that kind of kept the game close early on when you guys were trying to pull ahead was D'Anthony Melton, Tyrese Maxey. What led to the other guys from Philly getting going?
Yeah, I mean, that's the catch. That's what you do on Harden is you want to try to throw an extra guy at him, or I called one in the first half and gave an open three to Niang, and then we did it at the end of the quarter and gave an open three to Harris. And so their spacing was really good, and when they play small, they have shooters, and it puts you in a bind. Are you going to be shifted off of them? And in the first half, we were shifted a little bit more and gave some catch and shoot shots to their role guys that credit to them, they knocked down.
Are those shots that you were willing to just live with? Or?
I mean, it's hard because then we didn't double at the end and Harden hit one. So, hindsight is always 20/20. But I thought we adjusted well, and I thought they made plays, and we didn't.
Joe, by the numbers defensively, that was your second worst defensive performance efficiency-wise of the year. They made shots there, but what, in terms of adjustments or what can you guys do there to kind of take those shots away, whether it's from Harden or their supporting cast?
Yeah, I think, what would they get? I have to go back and watch, but I think some of the tendency stuff, I think Maxey got 8 points on his right hand in the third quarter. We just have to do a good job of showing help, being shifted and getting back, guarding their role guys better, especially in the second unit, whether it's, Melton or Niang not giving them open looks.
Generally. So there you heard it. There's a couple points that Joe makes that I'm going to want to talk about. First of which is the Al Horford switch that everyone's talking about. I think Al has shown some age through these playoffs, right? First of all. Second of all, I didn't think Al played bad defense there. I just think James Harden made a great shot. I'm not mad about that. You live with that. I think the idea is to not be in that situation where their big-time players make big-time plays and execute. The second thing he talks about, did you have something to say about the Harden?
I think the Harris play was more notable than the Harden play. Like, people are picking on Horford for that play with Harden at the end when Harden hit that shot. But, like, it was the one where the play where Horford kind of chased Tobias out, chased him out like 25 feet. And then Tobias hit that corner quick, and all of a sudden the lane was wide open and he got to the lane. But that's just referring to, him showing his age. But go ahead, Rob.
No, yeah. So, like, let's put this into perspective here. The Spurs, who had the worst defense in NBA history this season, allowed 1.17 points per possession. The Celtics, for the first 7 games of the playoffs, have been allowing 1.21 points per possession.
Ooh, dang.
This is the second-rated defense. That speaks fully on the defensive scheme game plan. Joe said something that I thought was worrisome in his post-game interview, and that was they stuck and executed the game plan good. That's what he said. He thought that the execution of the game plan was good.
I don't know how you continuously think the game is good when we can't close out games. What is good about that?
Well, it's not just closing out games. Real quick, Jack. It's the drop coverage. When you allow, and I said this in the post-game show last night, when you allow players such as James Harden and Trae Young, 2 of the most dominant pick-and-roll players in the league, literally, Trae Young, who had the most total assists, James Harden, who had the most assists per game. James Harden and Joel Embiid run the most effective and efficient pick-and-roll offense in the league. Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks run the second most effective pick-and-roll offense in the league. Playing drop coverage allows those guards a split second to realize I can either shoot this or I can find an open teammate. You cannot allow James Harden to dissect your defense like you allowed him to do. And it is very clear that it is the drop coverage. You have to, and maybe that will stop with Embiid. Once Embiid's on the court, your defensive focus shifts to stopping Joel Embiid. However, if you continue to play drop coverage, you will get sent home this round. you will not get past Philadelphia. And that is just clear as day.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the drop coverage thing has been a problem with this team. I was hoping that's another problem I was hoping would be, I mean, even a little bit we just won't stop playing it no matter how many times we get ran around playing it. I mean, I hate to keep referencing the finals, but I mean,
I was just going to say that.
You can't play. They play drop coverage on Steph Curry, for God's sake. I mean, I don't know when the lack of adjustments. Just, I mean, it really does bother me a little bit. But I think in that, if I can just go back to that last possession real quick from Harden, I think what I'm more upset about, I think, is Marcus. I mean, I think if Al's coming with the switch, you gotta look back and say, "Get the hell back, Al." I'm not letting Al Horford switch on isolation to one of the best ISO scorers this league has ever seen. It's just, or either that, or I'm just blitzing him. Like, I think you just brought this up, Rob. I'm not letting their best player have the ball in the biggest moment of the game. I am. If he passes that ball to D'Anthony Melton or Tyrese Maxey and they make a good big three, if they make a wide open three, you live with it. So be it, But the fact that we let James Harden go one-on-one with our slowest guy is unacceptable to me.
And you know what? It's not, like I said, it's not the fact that Harden made that shot that upsets me. It's the fact that we allowed Philadelphia and ourselves to be in that position where James Harden could make that shot. Because no, Joel, we started off great. I think we had a 10-point lead right off the bat. We got out, we were attacking paint, we were like, it was great. It was clicking. But then all of a sudden, Philadelphia realizes, oh my God, they're playing drop coverage. They went to the pick and fade or pick and roll on Al Horford every single possession. And when you're
that's a free bucket, though.
That's a free bucket. And Al Horford has always been great at switching and playing on-ball defense, right? He's shown a little bit of age, but he has never, ever been a good shot contester through dropping back. You know who is, though? Robert Williams. I look at the box score. If you're going to play drop coverage, your shot blocker has to be dropping because they can at least get a shot contest off. Right. Robert Williams played 19 minutes in game 1. 19 minutes. He was on the court for not even 20 minutes. And I look at the box score. Paul Reed led the game in rebounding. He had a double-double, 10 points and 13 rebounds.
They're back.
Paul Reed, their backup. Without Joel Embiid, you allow their backup center to out-rebound anyone else on the team. Our leading rebounder was Jason Tatum. Al Horford had 6 rebounds. 6. So, Robert Williams had 7 in almost 11 less minutes.
I mean, this is the semifinals, and this is the 76ers. And whether Embiid plays or not, you need more than 19 minutes of Robert Williams. What are we doing with Robert Williams right now? I don't understand what the goal is. I mean, it's now or never with him in terms of 19 minutes a game in the semifinals. This isn't a regular season game against the Washington Wizards on a second night of a back-to-back. This is the Philadelphia 76ers, the Boston Celtics, an epic clash in the semifinals. And then Grant Williams only 4 minutes. Celtics have to play big. Celtics have to play physical. And when you see 19 minutes to Rob and 4 minutes to Grant, it makes you scratch your head a little bit. And you know, on a night where, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, I thought the offense was solid last night. I had no problems with the offense. I thought we forced it a few times, but like that's gonna happen. Like, okay, can't nitpick on that. It was the defense and the continuous drop coverage, and you gotta be able to put your best defenders out there. And Robert Williams was not on the court last night. 19 minutes is very, very, very concerning to me. Matchup against the 76ers.
And you know what? We saw adjustments from Doc, which you don't really see. We saw them switch into the zone, in and out of the man zone. The box and one we saw a little bit of. We saw straight man. We saw them looking at different coverages. And yet the whole game, we just allowed James Harden to pull up on a drop coverage. And he wasn't, when we were getting Harden in isolation, we were forcing him to take bad shots, and he was making a couple of them, but he wasn't doing his damage through isolation. He was doing his damage through attacking that drop coverage. I live with James Harden piecing us for 45 off all of isolation play. If that happens, so be it. We have great isolation defenders. Sometimes, like I said, big time players make big time plays. I will not stand for this team, who is so talented, to just allow another star player to walk into open shots because of a poor game plan. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little nervous. We're not going to come out and play a different style of basketball. I think we win game 2, mind you, but I think even if we win game 2 and there's no adjustments being made, I'm still going to be concerned. I think I listened to everyone's post-game interview. Jaylen Brown seemed pissed off, mind you. He only took 2 shots in the second half. I don't know what was up with that. 8 of 10 shooting. He should always be taking 20 or more shots for the Celtics. Brown seemed pissed off. The thing I got most from Malcolm Brogdon was essentially game 2, we have to respond and make a statement. I liked that. Jason Tatum gave me a little concern. He wasn't really mad about it. And that's something I think that's been a trend for this team, guys, is this team doesn't really get mad when they lose. They're just like, oh, we'll fix it. And I feel like a championship team, maybe I'm looking too much into it, but what I want to see out of a team, I want to see them angry when they lose.
It's just like you don't want to get too high on the highs and too low on the lows, which I totally understand. But when games continuously slip like this, like look at all the Celtics losses so far in the postseason. What is it? 3? All 3 of the games were winnable for the Celtics. Like they were like all 3 games
for sure
for the Celtics.
We should, in all likelihood, be undefeated right now in playoffs.
No, I mean, seriously, and the adjustments need to be made. And what will give me a little bit of encouragement is to see the Celtics come out and they play a consistent 48 minutes of basketball, no matter who's on the court. Again, you can't control Joel Embiid playing or not, but you can control how you play. We talk about, actually, the guys in the locker room had a conversation after the game last night. Malcolm Brogdon was saying about, okay, did we take this for granted a little bit? We saw Embiid on the injury report. Did we come out sluggish? That can't happen. That cannot happen this stage, especially in the playoffs. Maybe against a team like the Washington Wizards in January when there's no Beal and no Kyle Kuzma, but not against the Sixers in the playoffs. That's not the time to do this, at home especially. So, focus shifts to game 2. I am trying to stay positive, but at the same time, Philadelphia, even if they lose tomorrow, Philadelphia does have momentum, in my opinion. I agree with you, Rob.
Well, yeah, because end of the day, sorry, real quick, Jack. End of the day, Philly, they did their business. They can, like I said, game 2 can be a rest for Embiid now. They came into Boston. They don't need to go up 2-0. They just got to steal one. They own home court now.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I think we're gonna come out and smack them tomorrow night. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I think we're gonna win by like 15, probably. That's my guess. I mean, I'm looking for a huge bounce back game from this team. I mean, this we've seen it. They've responded all year. And
can I be honest? I hate to cut you off, Jack.
No,
I don't want to overreact. And I know they didn't have Embiid, so it might be a little different. I don't want to overreact to game 1. Remember, Milwaukee smacked us in game 1 last year.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like,
Miami smacked us in game 1 last year. Well, we were smacking them, and they came back in the third and fourth quarter and smacked us around. Like, I don't want to overreact. Remember, we smacked Milwaukee 3 years ago, and then they gave us a gentleman's sweep. So, I get the situations are different. I'm not saying game 1s are flukes. I said this morning on our Instagram. Like, game 1s they're not flukes. They're more feeling out. But I just think there's a good chance for the Celtics, like you said, Jack, to come out tomorrow or today, whenever you're listening to the podcast, and put a serious statement out there in terms of, we effed up the other night. We have to own up to that. We have to move on, and we need to win this game at home.
No, for sure. And I'm really looking at their, no matter the score tomorrow, I'm really going to be looking at how they play late in the game, because I feel like that has just been a huge, we saw last year. I feel like they were a lot more. I don't want to keep saying last year, because obviously it's not last year anymore, but I'm going to. like last year, I feel like we were just a lot more decisive with what we wanted to do in the final moments of the game. Like thinking about how we keep talking about that Harden shot. That Harden shot wasn't the end of the game. We still had 8 more seconds, and we inbound it to Marcus Smart in the post, and then I quite honestly don't know what he was trying. I don't know if he was trying to pass it to Tatum or but yeah.
And you know what I think we have to do there, Jack? And we've been doing this all year. What we've seen against us is Trae Young screen. They get the matchup they want. You give the ball to your best player. Go win the game. It's the playoffs, right? James Harden. They got the switch they want. They got the matchup they wanted. Whatever it may be. The ball's in your best player's hands. Trae, go make a play. The Celtics try to do this thing where they get Tatum open off ball, and it's like sometimes, especially in a game in which Jason Tatum was shooting 60% from the floor, 4 of 5 from beyond the arc, he was nearly unstoppable. It should have been Jason Tatum, ball's in your hands, 8 seconds, make the right play. Everyone be ready to catch and shoot if the ball comes your way. No more of this, I'm going to send Smart in the post and Tatum's going to get a backdoor cut and I'm going to try to dump it down to Tatum for... No, you have one of the clutchest players in two, if not two of the clutchest players on your team, to a phenomenal isolation basketball players against a team that is terrible at defense. In the paint was wide open. Worst comes to worst, you attack that paint, you get fouled, you're shooting free throws. Instead, what does he draw up? A Marcus Smart post up, attack the rim, and try to dump it down to Tatum in the ball, and you don't even get a shot up? You don't get a shot up. That's a problem. And that is coaching. And that is coaching. Because at the end of the day, the coach draws up the play. And, an example I want to bring up is Miami's game 5 against Milwaukee in Milwaukee. Spoelstra drew up a play for someone else, and Jimmy said, no, this ball is going to me. Give me the ball. I need that from Jason Tatum and or Jaylen Brown. I need them to look the 34-year-old head coach in the face, and as a man that has gone to the NBA Finals, 3 Eastern Conference Finals appearances, I need Jason Tatum to tell Joe Mazzulla, no, give me this ball. I'm winning this game. We win. This team wins or loses on my back. And I need Tatum to embrace that. I need either him or Brown when the games are close. I need the ball in their hands. No more of this draw up, these weird plays, trying to get creative, trying to catch the defense off guard. It works here and there, but when you're always doing it, hell, Marcus Smart is going to make a turnover. He's just going to. End of the game, you don't want the ball in Marcus Smart's hands. You need the ball in Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum's hands. And then you put guys like White, Brogdon, and Hauser or Grant around them, because when the shot goes their way, you put your best shooters on the court because they're going to need to hit a big-time shot. And creating with Marcus Smart with 8 seconds left isn't going to work. It hasn't been working. Joe, I need to see adjustments for game 2 tonight. Well, when you're listening to this, and I need to see it. If I don't see it, even with the win, I'm going to be concerned, because the playoffs, I said it last night, the playoffs are a chess match. When one team makes a move, you respond by either moving a big piece like your queen or your whatever it may be, your rook, or you make a small move and move your freaking pond. Well, guess what? Joe hasn't made a move. Joe has allowed every other team he's played to just keep moving closer and closer until at some point one team is going to move that piece and checkmate us, because that will happen.
I mean, quite frankly, I think, I hate to say this, but I think Joe got out coached last night. I don't think that's crazy to say.
Absolutely.
I don't think that's crazy at all to say. I think it's like, and letting Doc Rivers in the playoffs out coach you is just the worst. That guy sucks. And dude, it's just, I don't know.
No, he ain't wrong. He ain't wrong. He's not wrong.
Yeah.
You know what ticked me off?
What's that, Justin?
The walking the ball up the court with 2 minutes left. Celtics took their own pace.
Yeah.
I don't like when
I agree. I think
on the court, and then they'll walk it up, dribble the ball for 20 out of the 24 seconds, and then either turn it over or force up a stupid shot.
And you know what? It was so I'm looking at the 2-minute report now. That Maxey That Maxey layup, that should have been a shot clock violation, first of all. They said they missed that, which we didn't lose the game because of it, but it definitely contributed. I'm not mad about that. The refs really let these teams play all game long. Can't complain about that. However, the fact that Malcolm Brogdon, who has been so good for us all year, decided to throw that ball right to Maxey is another example. Why is Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown not taking every shot for the last 3 minutes of the game?
Yeah,
why is that not a thing?
Frankly, I don't get why it's in anyone else's hands, to be honest with you.
Right?
As long as it's a rebound, you should have Tatum got to bring that ball up.
Yes,
and
Tatum was making great plays, right? Like he was. Remember that one pass? He dimed it to who was it? Brogdon on the baseline. He was getting doubled, whipped it to Brogdon.
I think that was his best performance in the playoffs so far, and he really, I think he, after kind of honestly, from his standards, a mediocre series against Atlanta.
Yeah.
I think he really stepped up. I was really happy with how he played, and I think that gives me, the way he played gives me a lot more hope it just gives me more hope, I feel like, in this series, that he's coming around. We're gonna see that playoff Jason Tatum we saw, and I have a feeling this is gonna be a huge series for him.
But you know what? I look around the league, and I, honest to God, think the Celtics are the least hungry team remaining. I see teams like the Golden State Warriors, the Miami Heat, the New York Knicks, the Denver Nuggets. They freaking want it. I mean, they want it. They want to win. Steph Curry apparently he had a supposed phenomenal speech prior to Game 7 that got those guys going and rallied. And then he puts up a 50-point performance. LeBron James and Anthony Davis are over there in LA making a run, playing some good basketball, right? Really making it a point that they're not going to settle for mediocrity. I look at Denver last night, and Nikola Jokic, he had a hell of a performance, and they wanted it. You watch because KCP, he knocked down some huge shots, and they wanted it. New York and Miami, it's very apparent that both teams believe they can come out of the East. I look at Boston, and I see a team that is so stuck up and doesn't have the ability right now to realize that they're vulnerable. And yes, they're a talented team, and yes, they're the defending Eastern Conference champions, and I still have all the faith in the world that they'll get this thing done. I get it, the playoffs are a long game, you're going to lose some games, but they don't look hungry.
Right.
Even in their post-game interviews, they don't look pissed off. When you lose on your home court in front of your fans following a terrible Bruins overtime loss, you should be pissed off that you blew another game. The TD Garden has experienced Game 5 loss against the Hawks, Game 5 loss against the Panthers, Game 7 loss against the Panthers, and now Game 1 loss against the Sixers. That's 4 losses in a row, embarrassing fashion.
Guess what? All 4 games should have been Boston wins, but they let them slip all 4 games.
Yes.
They let them slip. They let their foot off the gas pedal last night. Not saying this is the reason why they lost, but it had something to do with it. We always talk about closing quarters, finishing halves. Celtics were up 62-50 in a minute and 44 seconds. In 84 seconds, the Sixers go on a 12-2 run.
Great point.
A 12-2 run.
Great point.
That was ridiculous. Celtics, the vibes were awesome, up 62-50. And then Philly calls a timeout, and they come out on a 12-2 run in a minute and 40 seconds. That's ridiculous.
And you know what it is?
I get it. Runs are going to happen, but not like that. Not this time of year.
And it's because I'm telling you, they're not hungry. It's very clear to me. A hungry team looks at 12 points and says, nah, this isn't good enough. We want 25. The Celtics, as soon as they go up by double digits, they're like, now we're good.
It's almost like we want to be down 12. Like we don't want to like when we look at the score, like us fans, it's like we should like, oh God, can't we be down 12?
No, and it's very that's what there's 2 things I'm concerned about. It's the Joe Mazzulla lack of adjustments, and it's the Celtics really like not looking hungry. And I don't know, maybe if it was because Embiid wasn't playing, or if it's because, They thought they kind of own Philly. They thought they could take them. But game 2, I'm looking for a really hungry Boston Celtics team. I'm looking for diving on loose balls. I'm looking for intensity. I'm looking for I want to see a Celtics win in which we score 105 points and the Sixers score 92 points. That's what I want to see, because that's the recipe for success right there. Is really locking down on the defensive side of the ball, honing in on getting stops first and letting the offense come to you second. Late game execution is a necessity, I think. I mean, yeah, other than that, it's just kind of like, right now, this podcast that's all we can talk about is, the fact that the Celtics have been terrible, yet they're still in the second round. So if they can figure, and it's kind of sucky because they shouldn't have to figure this thing out, but they need to make adjustments. And if they can get on track, I mean, that would be great. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't mind seeing Robert Williams elevated back to the starting lineup and sending Derek White back down to the bench. I think that could be good. Or Smart. You're not wrong. The problem with that, Smart. I know the problem with that is like our Smart kind of, because he's the longest tenured Celtics, gets the starting job by default, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Can I be honest with you? I don't care who starts. Fucking
it's who finishes. No, you're fine. You're
right.
Fine. Dude, I don't care if Sam Hauser starts. It's who finishes the last 5 minutes of the game.
That's been terrible.
That's who I need to see on the court. I need to see Robert Williams. I need to see Malcolm Brogdon. Brogdon had an amazing game 1, in my opinion. I thought he played great for the minutes he played. And then I know he turned the ball over at the end, but like other than his one turnover, he had a really, really solid game. And they go into the hands of Marcus Smart. And they go into the hands of Marcus Smart.
And I think the problem with our late game execution is that we don't have a set lineup that has been closing out the games with each other consistently. I don't think Joe, throughout the course of regular season, had a go-to lineup. This should have been established game 40. All right, when it's a close game, who I'm rolling out is Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Grant Williams, and whatever the lineup combination may be. That should have been established around 50 games ago, 4 and 5 months ago. You test it out for the first 30 games, and then post midway through the season, post All-Star break, that's the lineup that finishes it. He didn't do that. Personally, I want to see Derek White. I want to see Brown. I want to see Tatum. I want to see Horford, and I want to see Rob. And if Horford's not out there, I want to see Brogdon. I think Smart has made a lot of mistakes down the stretch. He tries to do too much, even dating back to that Game 5 game against Milwaukee when he turned the ball over against Holiday, and then even Game 7, guys, against the Heat when we advanced to the finals. Smart missed and took 4 of the last shots and missed all 4.
They were all threes. It was
all threes.
It's like, yes, no way we're watching this right now.
Yes, and I think that is a weakness for the Celtics. Teams are absolutely okay with Marcus Smart running the show and closing out the game without him, or with Marcus Smart. I think there needs to be a quick adjustment there. But yeah, other than that, like I said, we're gonna see. We'll have a podcast up after this Philly series if we win, hopefully. If we're losing, then it will be the final episode of the season.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, what's our next podcast would be May 9th if we plan on Tuesdays. So
May 9th.
What's the schedule like? So will the series still be going on?
Yeah,
no way. Wrapped, right? No way.
Oh,
May
God.
9th, May 9th. If Celtics don't get swept or whatever, God forbid, 1, 2, 3, 4. It will
be that Wednesday, the Wednesday after.
Yeah, so it'd be the day after Game 5 and the day before Game 6.
Okay, so that's the next time we'll see you guys. Like I said, if you're not listening to our or subscribing to our YouTube channel, go do that, because our post game shows are essentially our podcast just after the game, and there's a lot more of us. There's usually around 4 of us. So go subscribe to over there. Guys, before we close out, any closing remarks? You got anything you need to say? Tell the people, get off your chest.
Let's just hold them under 100. I'd love to see that. I mean, though, we've only held a team under 100 once this postseason, and it was Atlanta, 99 points. So barely. So if we can hold Philly to like 95, 90-ish somehow, like I would love that. See this defense rolling again, get it going, get the gears going again as you're kind of getting into that more intense time of the playoffs. So I think that'd be a huge boost.
For me, don't overreact. Like, we talk about the Celtics not getting too low on the lows and too high on the highs.
Yeah.
Us Celtics fans, admittingly, overreact so badly. And I get it. It was a frustrating game when lost. I get it. Embiid didn't play. You were at home and, you're frustrated with the Bruins. But at the same time, like, let's not act like that this single loss costed us the championship. Rob said it earlier. When you go on these long playoff runs, you are going to lose games. You're not going to go perfect 16-0. Very unlikely you go 16-0 in the playoffs, but you're not going to do it. You're going to have bumps in the road. Hopefully, with the Celtics, this could be one of those little wake-up calls, and they can wake up and they make adjustments. If they make adjustments tomorrow, they're fine. I mean, we're acting like, the way we lost, it sucked, but at the same time, it's not like we got blown out. We were right there.
No.
We were right there.
Yeah.
And if anything, we were up 12 at one point. Like, we got to close the games out. That's what it is. But let's not overreact. We are still in a prime position, and we still have a really, really good shot at this, whether Embiid comes back in this series or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
No need to worry. Celtics in 5 still, everybody. Don't worry. No worries. Dunkin' coffee. Go get your coffee Thursday morning. It's going to taste amazing.
I tell you what, my coffee this morning had a bittersweet taste to it that I didn't really like.
It did.
But yeah, for me, I just want to see adjustments come out, respond. I'd love to catch games 2 and 3. However, don't get ahead of myself. Lock in for game 2. I'll be in the building for game 2. So, hopefully, we can get a win. Because last time I was there, game 5 was pretty brutal. Guys, thank you so much for listening in to this episode of the Celtics Talk Weekly. Again, go follow us on all of our social medias. They'll be linked down in the description on our YouTube video. If you're on Spotify, then just head over to our YouTube channel and go check out our links. I'm Rob. Next to me is Justin. And to the right of me is Jack. Guys, again, thank you so much. And until next time, go Seas.